The Charger. The Charger is built like a freight train, with one massive, overdeveloped arm and one withered, useless one. It sprints in a straight line at full speed and grabs the first survivor it collides with, carrying them forward before slamming them into the ground repeatedly. Anyone else in its path gets bulldozed out of the way, knocked aside, launched off ledges, sent sprawling. It's designed to break apart tight formations and scatter teams, creating chaos that the other special infected can exploit. The slam itself is brutal. Each impact deals heavy damage, and the Charger won't stop pounding until it's killed or the survivor is dead. If it manages to carry you off a ledge, that's an instant incapacitation. No amount of health saves you from a long fall. The upside? The Charger is loud. You can hear those heavy, stomping footsteps from a good distance. And after a charge, whether it hits or misses, there's a noticeable recovery period where it's vulnerable. That's your window to light it up. But don't underestimate it. In narrow spaces with nowhere to dodge, a Charger is basically a death sentence. It's the infected roster's battering ram, and it does that job extremely well.
The Boomer.
The Boomer is disgusting in every way imaginable. A bloated, waddling sack of bile that exists for one purpose: to blind you and make you a target. It shuffles toward the group slowly, gurgling and sloshing, and if it gets close enough, it projectile vomits bile all over nearby survivors. That bile does two things. It coats your screen, making it nearly impossible to see what's happening, and it acts as a homing signal that draws every common infected in the area straight to you. Suddenly, you're blind, covered in filth, and a horde is sprinting at your face. It's chaos. If you kill the Boomer up close, it explodes and drenches anyone nearby in the same bile. So even taking it out can backfire if you're not careful about distance. The key is spotting it early. Those wet, bubbling sounds and the heavy footsteps are pretty hard to miss. Put a few rounds into it from range and it pops harmlessly. The Boomer has been around since Left 4 Dead 1, and in tight spaces, like hallways or stairwells, a well-timed bile attack can absolutely destroy a team's momentum. The Smoker. The Smoker is a distance killer, and that's what makes it so deadly. That tongue, or whatever that fleshy, muscular tentacle is, can shoot out 50, maybe 60 feet, and wrap around your neck, torso, or leg before you even know it's there. Its entire purpose is isolation. It hangs back on rooftops, behind walls, in places you can't easily reach, and it waits for someone to wander just a step too far from the group. One grab and you're getting dragged across the ground, completely helpless until a teammate cuts you loose. And if nobody does, the tongue constricts. You choke. You die. When you finally take it down, the Smoker bursts into a cloud of thick, vision-blocking smoke. One last middle finger on its way out. You can usually hear it before you see it though. That wet, hacking cough echoing through the level is your early warning system. If you're paying attention, you can spot it before it strikes. If you're not, well, enjoy the ride. The Smoker first appeared in Left 4 Dead 1 and has been ruining team formations ever since.
The Witch.
The Witch is different from everything else on this list. She doesn't charge you. She doesn't hunt. She just sits there, in the dark, crying. And honestly, that makes her scarier than anything that comes running. Approach her quietly, keep your flashlight off, don't fire your weapon nearby, and she'll leave you alone. Walk right past her, no problem. But the moment something sets her off, a stray bullet, a beam of light across her face, getting too close, she snaps. And when she snaps, she moves with terrifying speed, lunging straight at whoever disturbed her, with claws that can drop a survivor in a single hit on higher difficulties. On Expert, a witch encounter is essentially a death sentence if you trigger her without a plan. The best teams treat her like a landmine, mark her location, communicate, and carefully route around her. Left 4 Dead 2 also introduced the Wandering Witch, a daytime variant that slowly roams around instead of sitting still. She's less reactive to noise and light, but her constant movement means she's harder to predict and avoid. You might turn a corner and walk right into her without any warning. Either way, the Witch is a test of discipline. Panic and she'll end you. Stay calm and she's barely an obstacle. The Hunter. The Hunter is a predator in the purest sense. Hooded, crouched low, silent, it stalks from the shadows and waits for the perfect moment to strike. And when it does, it launches itself through the air with terrifying speed and distance, slamming into a survivor and pinning them flat on the ground. Once you're pinned, it's over unless someone intervenes. The hunter tears into you with razor-sharp claws, ripping through flesh until you're either rescued or dead. Its mobility is insane. It can leap onto rooftops, scale buildings, and reposition faster than almost anything else in the game. The only real warning you get is a guttural growl, followed by a sharp, piercing shriek right as it leaves the ground. By the time you hear that scream, it's already mid-air, and you've got about half a second to react. Miss that window, and you're on the ground. Like the smoker, the hunter debuted in Left 4 Dead 1, and it remains one of the most feared infected in the franchise for good reason. The Spitter. The Spitter has a stretched, deformed jaw and a throat full of highly corrosive acid that she launches in a long-range glob. When the acid lands, it spreads into a glowing green pool on the ground that deals escalating damage the longer you stand in it. The first second or two isn't bad. Stay any longer and your health melts. She's designed to punish teams that bunch up or hold position. Elevators, safe room doors, healing stations, anywhere you'd normally want to stand still. On her own, the Spitter isn't particularly tough. She's fragile, she's slow, and that gurgling, hacking sound gives her away pretty quickly. But she almost never attacks alone. Pair her with a charger slamming someone into an acid pool, or a smoker dragging a survivor through one, and suddenly she's one of the deadliest infected in the game. Area denial is her specialty, and in tight corridors or clutch moments, a well-placed spit can completely derail a rescue.
Reloading.
The Jockey. The Jockey is small, twitchy, and deeply unsettling. It hunches over, giggles to itself, and when it sees an opening, it launches onto a survivor's back and takes partial control of their movement, steering them away from safety and toward anything that'll finish the job. Cliffs, fire, acid pools, oncoming hordes. The Jockey doesn't need to kill you itself. It just needs to put you in a situation where something else does. And because it's riding on a teammate's back, shooting it off without hitting your friend is a challenge, especially in the middle of a chaotic fight. Its erratic, bouncing movement pattern makes it tricky to track and harder to hit before it latches on. The cackling laugh is your main warning. If you hear that maniacal giggle getting closer, start watching your backs. Literally. Where the Jockey really shines is in combination plays. A smoker pulls someone, a spitter drops acid, and the Jockey steers another survivor right into the middle of it. That kind of coordination is what makes Left 4 Dead 2's infected roster so punishing when the AI director decides to turn up the heat. And then there's the tank, the final boss of Left 4 Dead encounters, a mountain of mutated muscle and fury that makes every other infected on this list look like a warm-up act. The tank is massive, towering over survivors with arms like wrecking balls. It can punch you across a room, send you flying off a rooftop, rip chunks of concrete out of the ground and hurl them at you from a distance. Cars? It flips them. Walls? It punches through them. Your health bar? Gone in 2 hits. Fighting a tank requires the entire team working together. You need space to maneuver, sustained firepower, and someone keeping it distracted while the rest unload everything they've got. If the team scatters or panics, the tank will pick you off one by one. The game typically deploys tanks at the worst possible moments. Narrow bridges, finales, choke points where there's nowhere to run. It's designed to be the ultimate coordination check. Either your squad works as a unit, or somebody's getting slammed into the pavement. The tank has appeared in both games, and its arrival is always signaled by that iconic, thundering music cue. When you hear it, you know the stakes just went up. Way up.
The common infected. Now let's talk about the backbone of every outbreak, the common infected. These are ordinary people who got hit with the green flu, and now they're sprinting at you with zero hesitation and zero mercy. Don't let the word common fool you. These aren't your slow, shambling, arms-out movie zombies. They run, they climb fences, scale walls, and they hit hard. Get surrounded by a group of them, and you'll go down faster than you'd expect. They're drawn to loud sounds and bright lights, which is why setting off a car alarm is basically ringing the dinner bell. When enough of them pile together, you get what the game calls a horde, a wave of infected charging at you all at once. On their own, a single common infected is a nuisance. 20 of them rushing you in a dark hallway, that's a death sentence if your team isn't coordinated. Uncommon infected. There are 7 of them in total, each one tied to a specific campaign, and each one carrying a twist that makes the standard infected formula just a little more painful. First up, the CETA worker. Decked out in a hazmat suit, this one shrugs off fire damage completely. Kill it though, and it might drop a bile jar, so there's a nice trade-off. Then there's Jimmy Gibbs Jr., the legendary stock car driver, whose zombie form is just as hard to deal with as his fanbase. Fire doesn't touch him, oil won't blind him, and pipe bombs and bile jars can't lure him in. He does his own thing. The fallen survivor is a strange one. High health, fireproof, and it actually runs away from you most of the time. Chase it down though, and it can drop some genuinely useful loot: medical supplies, pipe bombs, Molotovs, or pain pills. Clown infected are wearing squeaky clown shoes, and every step they take attracts nearby common infected like a walking dinner bell. They basically create their own mini horde just by existing. Mudmen sprint at you on all fours, low to the ground and covered in swamp muck. They're fast, hard to see coming, and the mud they throw can blur your vision. Worker infected with their hard hats are completely unfazed by pipe bombs. You can't distract them with the usual tricks. They'll just keep coming straight for you. And finally, the riot infected, arguably the most annoying of the bunch. Full body armor on the front means bullets, melee, pretty much everything bounces off unless you hit them from behind. Your only options from the front are fire, explosives, or a chainsaw. They can also drop a nightstick on death, which is a solid melee pickup.